We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Early morning, January the 16th, 2003. The Space Shuttle Columbia was scheduled to take off at 10:39 a.m. The journey leading to this moment had been a long one. The Columbia's 7 crew members had trained for over 2 years. There had been many delays. The public have seen images recorded by the news media, but extraordinary private footage was captured as well.
This is my buddy Dave.
Shuttle crew member Dave Brown filmed throughout their training, recording the lives of astronauts in a way never before seen by the public.
Now, ordinarily astronauts are very camera shy, and nobody ever wants to appear human. They want to appear superhuman.
Hi, Mom.
This was not simply a team of colleagues.
Hot dog.
These were 7 friends. Tragically, they would not return from their mission to space. But many of the most intimate moments of their 2-year journey have been preserved.
Yeah, it's after the first one, the second one comes in.
Good morning.
The Kennedy Space Center in Florida. With the launch of NASA's 113th Space Shuttle mission just hours away, the crew made final preparations. One of the 7 astronauts, former jet fighter pilot Willie McCool, had dedicated his life to flight.
Willie loved flying. He loved the feeling. Willie would often come home and describe the flight and want to share everything, every moment about it, the soaring, the way the clouds dispersed. He always tried to describe things to the degree that I could picture them in my mind.
The mission, officially called STS-107, was to include 16 days of scientific research.
Think small. Okay.
Israeli Air Force Colonel and war hero Ilan Ramon would be the first astronaut from his country to fly in space.
How's that?
Great.
Ilan was a very modest, quiet person with a wonderful smile and a blink in his eyes.
Ready for the big day?
He was always passionate about what he did, and it's beautiful combination between his personality and what he did.
No.
The mission commander was Rick Husband, a native of Amarillo, Texas.
Okay, go ahead and close your visor and turn your manifold on.
He was nicknamed the BFA, the boy from Amarillo. There was so many pieces of Rick, and one of the biggest parts of him was his sense of humor. And I think it infiltrated the whole crew. They took their job incredibly serious, but they were able to enjoy what they were doing and laugh about it and enjoy each other.
See you, Dave.
Thanks, Smith.
Columbia's crew of 5 men and 2 women ran through their final checklists before liftoff.
And what else is there?
You've got the meds, and putting your shoulder pocket, that's an easy grab for those. You're probably going to need these first, right? Okay. So that'll
Mission specialist Kalpana Chawla, or KC as she was known, grew up in India. But she had come to the United States to pursue her passion, aerospace engineering.
Casey was one of the most intelligent people I have ever known. Rick said that she had a brain the size of a planet. But she didn't talk over your head, and she didn't speak to you in a way that you felt intimidated in any way. It was incredibly warm and incredibly genuine.
After repeated launch delays, mission specialists Dave Brown and Laurel Clark and payload commander Mike Anderson were eager to start their mission.
Really? This extension is.
Step time to 25. 24 minutes.
Start that card game.
Here we go.
Scoot it in.
Round and round and round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows.
NASA has a launch day ritual. The crew play a game of poker, and no one can leave until the commander loses. This crew did not break with tradition.
Peace time.
Oh, Cur Jacks.
That's a king. I know I'm out. King side. King Jack, so that king is
The playful mood was tempered by nervous anticipation. In a little more than 3 hours, at 10:39 a.m., the shuttle's engines were scheduled to ignite, and these astronauts will be on their way to space.
Fair chance. Wait. You're out.
Their mission was to be an important one for the scientific world. Months of training had brought the team close, and Dave Brown's intimate video diary recorded every step of the journey.
There it is.
For 2 years, 7 astronauts trained together for a mission aboard the American space shuttle Columbia. On the morning of January the 16th, 2003, the team made their way to the launch pad. NASA cameras had filmed most of the historic moments of the American space program, but never from this angle. Astronaut Dave Brown boarded the lift with the camera he almost never put down.
Put you back over here then.
All right. Once we finally get strapped in, it'll all be okay.
For the 2 years leading up to the launch, Dave had pursued 2 dreams. To become an astronaut on the space shuttle,
yes, you know, with the, and you'll see the runway lights go by and everything.
and to make a movie about it.
He went in and drug his camera into every training session known to man. We'd go in 3 hours early and mount the camera in the training modules. And he wanted to learn everything he could about how to make the best film possible.
Are we on focus? It looks like it's focused on infinity on the right one. There's another icon.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's not another.
What had started as a personal project for this doctor and former Navy pilot became a team effort.
Some of that air out of there, okay?
I tell you, Dave, you're in the wrong profession. If I ever gonna make any movie, it's with you.
You are making a movie with me.
All right.
When somebody puts a camera in your face, there's a tendency to sort of prep for it. The crew was getting so used to Dave, they were like giving him hints on how to film segments. Okay, wait a minute, let me get this shot just right.
Now, ordinarily, astronauts are very camera shy. I mean, they'll appear in public at certain events, but it's always very scripted, and nobody ever wants to appear human. They want to appear superhuman. And this was an amazing accomplishment that he was able to not just convince, but thoroughly enlist the aid of his crew members.
Look up, wait low, stay together.
Dave knew that the news cameras would capture their traditional walk to the Astrovan. But he wanted to film the moments the public don't usually see, and the places to which only astronauts have access, like inside the Astrovan.
Exits up there. Got one back here. I have towels for your comfort. Also water if you would like one.
I'll drink some water.
Want some water? Water?
Payload commander Mike Anderson had responsibility for the unprecedented 80 science experiments on board.
If you met him, he wouldn't have told you what he did for a living. Michael was very quiet and unassuming, yet very focused and determined. He always had goals. He always had set very high goals for himself.
Yeah, I was telling Rick, I'm not going to have any trouble going to sleep on orbit tomorrow night. After this last week, after today.
This was the first shuttle flight for mission specialist Laurel Clark, a doctor, Navy captain, and mother.
I consider her embodiment of the pioneering woman, a woman that would do her job, raise her kids, and suffer immensely in the process of exploration or discovery or crossing the frontier.
Like all explorers, these astronauts accepted the risks inherent in their mission.
We talked a lot about the dangers in space travel, and Laurel did understand the risk. I think it would have been tough if she realized that it might be that now her son doesn't have a mom and all of the anguish that he's endured. But invariably, she had to make that decision to go.
Thanks a million. Appreciate it. Thanks for all the great work.
See you in February.
All right.
Dave, everybody's leaving us one at a time. Have you
The reason
noticed?
I'm holding my hand up like this is because the sun is out, and that's a very good thing.
I want you guys to understand we only got a one-way ticket out to the pad. Right? We're not doing this round trip stuff again. Right? Yeah. One-way ticket.
Everybody's got one of these patches
That's
on
right.
and go.
There you
Okay.
go, John.
All right, we're set. There it is.
The Columbia, NASA's oldest shuttle, was about to embark on its 28th trip into space. But for the 7 astronauts, the launch was anything but routine.
That's a very hard day for families. It's very hard to watch your loved one take off, and it can be very anxiety producing. But you know what, that day, I can imagine Michael just doing a checklist of a lot of things, but I can also imagine him being really excited. Okay, this is the day, this is it. Because I remember him telling me he's ready to go.
Take care.
Even as the astronauts prepared to board the shuttle, Dave Brown continued filming, capturing this never-before-seen image of Columbia on the launch pad.
Feet down! Coming out!
Dave recognized, I think, these treasured moments that he was experiencing with this crew, that this was a chance in a lifetime to be with these 7 people, and the amount of training that they were doing and the experiences and trips that they were making together.
Perhaps the most memorable training had taken place in the Wind River Mountains of Wyoming.
Don't think that you have to have that wire.
By August 2001, the crew had spent 10 months together. They had also experienced the first of what would be many launch delays. Here in the wilderness, they came together as a team that didn't always take itself seriously.
Rolling. Action. We're here in the Wind River Mountains with the crew of STS-107.
Brought to you by the National Outdoor Leadership School.
Well, Laurel, are you ready?
Dave, my palms are sweaty, my knees are weak. I'm ready for an outdoor adventure.
Candid camera. Are we going to actually stop?
No.
What?
Keep going.
No, I need a break.
Soon, into the valley.
Rick was real excited about it because there was so many similarities between what they were going to experience in Wyoming and what they would experience in space. All your comfort zones are completely altered.
The 10-day outing promised to be grueling. Under the guidance of instructors, the astronauts were to hike 8 kilometers a day, carrying 20-kilo packs, before setting up camp.
Cook this. You're just adding the hot water.
It was clear they were no longer in NASA's structured environment.
Chili, which is that
chili? Oh, this is chili
mix. Yep.
Wow.
So does it just take way too much time to put, like...
Labels?
Yeah, A, C for apple cider and...
You know, in another day, you won't need it.
It's sort of like you need at home loyalty. At home I have those very boxes.
We have English, Russian, and barcode.
It's purposely an added stress.
It was such an incredible experience because they were so removed from their lives. And so it did bring out everyone's quirks and everyone's different weaknesses and their strengths.
Hey guys, point up at the summit where we're going tomorrow.
Way the heck on! Back and going out that way.
We're going tomorrow. Mike is our fearless leader. He's going to lead us up there. It's going to be a great adventure.
Reaching the summit would entail a 4,000-meter climb. To reduce risk, careful planning was critical. Mike Anderson considered dividing the group.
So basically a group that's going to aggressively pursue the peak and a second group that's not so aggressively going to pursue the peak. That's one option. The other option is if we all just stay together as a group of 7 and do the best we can.
He was very much more safety conscious than maybe a lot of people are, but what he recognized was this was a unique opportunity that he and his crew had to bond together.
Ultimately, the crew decided they needed to work as a team. They would climb the peak together.
Before we start up the steep grade,
hey, Dr. Dave.
I'd really like to
how's it going?
The final hike, a difficult 760-meter ascent, would take hours, and Dave documented every moment. On the 5th day of their adventure, the explorers of STS-107 finally reached their destination.
When you see that picture of them on that peak where they're all together and they're all rough looking and they have their beards and their hats on, I mean, to me that's like, here we are, we're the team.
What's up? Mr. Husband, this is a altitude record? Absolutely. All right. 13,200 feet. I thought this... Take off your hat a little bit so we can see your smiling face. There we go. Sweet. That's the whole Wind River Range below, Dave.
Wow.
All right.
Woohoo!
Wind River Peanut Butter Cup.
Next stop, over the Earth's atmosphere.
That's right.
All right. It didn't look so far this morning, but...
With the peak behind them, they decided that a celebration was in order.
Exactly what is that?
Nightmare, man.
What is that you're doing?
I'm trying to make these stupid brownies because everybody wanted brownies for breakfast.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Commander, you need to try a bite of this.
Okay.
And see if you think we can serve it to the crew.
Yeah?
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh. My favorite. I love it. Thank you.
Hi, Dave.
Casey, are you hungry?
Yes.
You want some brownies?
Yes. Can I have one?
Of course. What do you think?
You are so cool. That's what I think. Wow. Looks kind of like bear scat.
Are you hungry? Come on. Well, you know I don't eat chocolate. Belly up to that table. And...
Come on, Mike. You could tell Michael's going, there is no way in the world I'm going to eat these brownies. I don't even know what they are. They look like cow dung. So, I mean, and that was kind of his take. If I can't look at it and tell it's food, I'm not eating it.
This crew played as vigorously as they trained.
There it is.
And Dave often led the effort.
My favorite.
I love it.
I love it. My favorite.
Thank you.
Salute.
All right.
The thing that I appreciated with Dave and all of this crew actually is that they all had the heart of a child. And so I just remember seeing them giddy, you know, while they were working and having fun with each other.
What kind of leader are you sitting on your duck?
Well, I was taking pictures. Who are you talking to?
I might think twice too.
All right.
All right, count to 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Woo!
My favorite. I love it. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, what?
That was a solid 9.5. All right, read it out. Okay, hold on.
So that was a wonderful experience. I mean, they came back from that a very solidified and unified group. Any of the rough edges that might have been present before were finally interwoven by that point.
The camaraderie that the crew had developed in Wyoming shone through in their official picture.
They're always touching. They're always trying to hold. They're a group. I mean, they're bonded together, you know. And to be such a diverse group, who would have thought that they would have been friends as well as colleagues and the crew members together?
O2 actuators, EVA for EV1. Complete VV tip.
By December 2001, Columbia's launch date had been delayed 4 times. The crew continued its training, most of it in the United States. But preparations for the mission's international science experiments took the crew to places around the world, including the European Space Agency in the Netherlands. The trip provided another opportunity for the crew to strengthen their ties.
Because their training went for so long, the crew became extremely close and became like a family. And they did have fun.
Will you come forward, please?
This was a family that liked to explore, even on their days off.
Go ahead, Dave and Laurel.
Get set, go! Woohoo! There they go!
No hands.
Goodbye. I'm crazy over the love of you.
That's our commander singing right there.
Rick loved to sing. It was such an outlet from the engineering and from the math and from the science and all of the focusing work. He found music to be a real release.
Are you recording yourself?
I'm recording Willie.
Oh my goodness, you're doing it backwards.
I am.
When you watch Dave's tapes, you fall in love with the characters. You go, Laurel, you're a Stitch.
Dust, so to speak. Yeah, this is me.
And Willie, when they say you're a kid, there's no doubt about it. I can just see you with the football floating around in space and going for the touchdown. And Rick just wanted everybody to be a team, and this was a group of people that just wanted to be a team. You know, what a marvelous thing.
Here's this, very professional crew going through this training, and then at the end of the day they go for bike rides through the countryside and stop off at these various tulip fields and roll around in the tulip beds. So they were like kids there.
But days like this were rare. After the trip to the Netherlands, the crew returned to rigorous training and to wondering when they would finally launch. After nearly 2 years of training and almost a dozen delays, the crew of the Space Shuttle Columbia were anxious to launch.
Now, you want to talk through the events? What we're going to do?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to be.
To keep them properly trained for their 16-day mission, NASA required the astronauts to take refresher courses.
Get into position.
Dave Brown conducted interviews with his crewmates.
Because of our big delays, after being in the survival training about 2 years ago, and since it has to be refreshed every 2 years, we are here again.
Each delay was a little bit of a bummer. The most wonderful thing about this crew is that they loved to work together. And in the astronaut office, the best position for an astronaut is to be training for the mission.
Hi, Mom.
After being there already, being there again, it's less exciting. I believe that we will get excited again when we get closer to the launch.
One who's got it for a launch is
Commander Rick Husband made an effort to keep the crew focused on work, not delays.
Rick was very team-oriented. He was always evaluating his team, determining the disposition of his team, the temperature, and he always had his ear to the ground. Let's do it. Okay. Climb on up in here.
Despite rumors of yet another postponement, Columbia's launch date was set for January the 16th. In a way, the long wait had been a gift, affording the crew extra time with their families and loved ones. But now the confirmed launch date provided reason to celebrate.
Butter, a little fresh garlic, chopped.
Be good.
Milan just walks into the kitchen, grabs the lemon, grabs the nuts, starts looking in cupboards, starts grabbing stuff, and it just miraculously happened. He transformed it.
Cheers.
CDIT. We're almost there.
In December 2002, the crew performed a dress rehearsal. The astronauts worked inside a mock-up of the shuttle, running through the tasks they would perform during the final 48 hours of their mission.
What are you doing?
I'm doing a module status check for the Space Hab every day, in fact twice a day. Every shift, the red team does one and the blue team does a module status check. We have a cue card that we use. We basically check the health of a lot of the payloads to make sure they're happy and running well.
It's this joint, integrated effort to work through a 48-hour timeline like we would on orbit. So in essence, it's our graduation exercise for on orbit.
With all crew members confined to the simulator, Dave Brown had captive subjects.
Just keep eating. You're okay.
It's going to be a long flight.
The only thing that Michael said about Dave's filming, he just could not believe that every little thing they were doing, Dave was filming. He just thought that was hysterical.
Dave wanted to document the thoughts and feelings of his fellow crew members.
We are, I think, 36 or 37 days to launch, and it's starting to get exciting.
Why is it exciting?
What do you mean, why is it exciting? To go to space. Well, for the first time at least, for us, for me, it's exciting.
In the final hours of the simulation, the crew donned their suits for re-entry, their focus shifting from research to spaceflight. It's at this point in a space journey that a crew must work together towards a single goal: bringing the space shuttle home safely.
So where are we, Willie? Talk to us.
We are about 2.5 hours before our deorbit burn. We do the deorbit burn to slow ourselves down for re-entry into orbit. After the deorbit burn, about an hour later, we'll be landing at Kennedy Space Center, runway 15, pretending it's February 1st, 2003.
With launch day just weeks away, the crew visited Cape Canaveral to run through several final emergency procedures.
Make sure it doesn't hook here. There's a couple ways you can get in here. Sit down and down in. It's preferred. You can stand, you can sit, but either way you do it, make sure you keep your arms in.
The launch pad contained built-in slide wire baskets that traveled to bunkers on the ground at speeds of 90 kilometers per hour. In the event of an emergency prior to the launch, the crew will be able to evacuate the pad in seconds.
Okay, as far as activating, last person in tomorrow, hit the paddle. You're not going to go anywhere. You may go 2 to 3 feet. It depends on how cute the technicians are. And if you do, it'll be a fun ride.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, mark.
Our countdown for launch of Space Shuttle Columbia on mission STS-107 is continuing on.
Finally, on January the 16th, 2003, the training was over.
The time had finally come for them to fly. They had waited 2 years, had trained so hard, we had gone through so many things together, and the moment had finally arrived.
You have a good one, sir. Take care.
For Dave Brown, it was a chance to document what he and his crew had been working towards.
Dave said, well, Mom, you know, the scary times is the launch and the re-entry. And he was looking at me, just talking to me, and I said, Dave, I'll be thinking about you every minute. And he reached down and gave me a great big kiss. And I knew he meant it when he said, these are the scary times.
More bags right behind me and Rick.
Okay, everybody, high five.
All right.
Everybody happy?
Yes, we are.
Morning, gentlemen. Welcome to the 195. We're going to have a wonderful day today. Good to see you. You guys see here.
Their essence was to be part of this team. And there was a tremendous sharing and a bond and quite honestly, an overwhelming love for each other. It was absolutely amazing how much they cared about each other and that sense that they would have given their lives for each other.
Pilot Willie McCool was the third astronaut to board the shuttle.
How are you doing this morning?
Technicians helped prep the astronauts for launch, strap them in, and close the main hatch.
Launch of STS-107 is scheduled for today. All employees should be aware that a potential for a deposition of solid rocket motor exhaust.
Willie called me at 5 in the morning, right before he went to breakfast on launch day. I could tell that he was excited, that he was nervous, and I just wished him good luck and told him that I loved him. And he always said, I'll see you in 16 days.
This was one of the last images Dave Brown filmed before he turned his camera off for the launch. Once he boarded the shuttle, NASA's onboard cameras would take over.
And we have a camera that is stationed on the flight deck as we can watch the crew members climb into the vehicle and take their seats.
Okay, Rick, if there's ever a time to use the phrase, all good things come to people who wait, this is one time.
Oh, we appreciate it, Mike. We're going to have a great mission. We appreciate all the great hard work everybody's put into this, and we're ready to go.
And we have a go for auto sequence start. 15 seconds. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine start. 3, 2, 1. We have booster ignition and liftoff of Space Shuttle Columbia with a multitude of national and international space research experiments.
You see this thing going, and then all of a sudden you feel the rumbling, and you can feel it in your stomach. You can feel it shaking, and it's a very overwhelming emotional experience. Quite literally, it's a visceral experience.
Roger, roll, Columbia.
Columbia now rolling on to the proper azimuth for a 39-degree inclination.
You watch them just take off with such power and thrust, and it's like, wow. I can't tell you what it feels like to know the person that's inside of that shuttle. And you watch them, you just keep watching them until you can't see them anymore, and it's the most incredible thing.
We copy, go and throttle up.
The throttle up call acknowledged by Commander Rick Husband, joined on the flight deck by pilot Willie McCool, flight engineer Colton Achobla, and mission specialist Dave Brown. Mission specialist Laurel Clark, payload commander Mike Anderson, and payload specialist Ilan Ramon seated down on the middeck.
As the Columbia reached orbit, Dave Brown was the first one out of his seat.
Coming up and maneuvering and everything, but they were able to get in position anyway. Dave's making sure he's got all of his settings correct on the camera here, and then getting ready to take a look outside the window and film that external tank. It was a good shot.
The crew was unaware that a piece of foam had ripped away from the external tank during liftoff. The debris had slammed into Columbia's left wing. The damage would prove fatal. For the 7 astronauts, the long wait was finally over. The focus now, their payload of science experiments.
You can see Rick's husband here in Space Hab.
The crew worked in 12-hour rotating shifts. The red team, made up of Ilan, Rick, KC, and Laurel, was on duty first.
One of the panel colors. This is Willie on our ergometer on the flight deck.
Once the red team's shift finished, the blue team, comprised of Mike, Willie, and Dave, took over.
Good morning, Houston. And it's a really good day to wake up today and nothing to worry about. Just a lot of work to do, and Blue Shift is ready to start another good day of science on orbit.
Michael did get to do not just one thing he loved, not just fly, but actually work on the science end of it. It was very challenging, but he was very excited about that.
From where he's working.
Dave continued filming his crewmates.
Experiment, actually there's 8 experiments in bio...
And as they worked, they couldn't help but marvel at the wonders of zero gravity.
"107 was the happiest. I think it was because of all the eccentric characters that you had on there. And all of them were different. And we usually don't see crews that are that happy and joking and jovial.
And then there's tennis.
I know the mission was critical to them, and that was the most important thing. But one of the things I always would tell them was, okay, whenever you get a break, look out the window. Tell me what it was like to be in space.
When they finally had a chance to look at the Earth, they were rewarded with a breathtaking view of a silent blue planet. One that inevitably reminded them of how far they were from family and friends.
Good morning, Red.
Good morning, Ken. Good morning to all, and special good morning to my wife, Rona, the love of my life.
Whilst the astronauts corresponded regularly with their families through mission control and email, the most precious moments were spent in private 30-minute video conferences, held once a week.
It was like preparing for a date. I was getting nervous, and I even had to think about things I wanted to talk to Willie about. I was very excited to see him.
2 minutes, I love you.
Okay, I have a poem to read. It's short. It goes like this. I've witnessed the beauty of Earth from space, far, far above. What a treasure it is to behold. But I would trade this view for your embrace, my sweet love, because only you enrapture my soul.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it's so true, Lon. The views have been just out of this world. I can't describe them well enough to you. I'll try to when I get back. But cameras don't do it justice. Video machines don't do it justice. But they don't compare to you. So this view that I have of you beats the Himalayas, beats all the atolls, all the deserts, all of North Africa. You're precious.
You're precious. I love you.
I love you, Lon.
For Laurel Clark, the video conference calls offered a chance to spend time with her son, Ian.
Ian, was so close to his mom, and so he dominated the camera shot. So he just put the camera in front of him and just wanted to talk to her as much as she could. And she would talk back about what she's doing and having fun, and she would turn around slowly upside down, so she'd be upside down on the camera. And it was a touching, very intimate moment.
It seemed that soon enough, the journey would be over.
Get the card turned over.
The 16-day science mission to space had been an overwhelming success. On the morning of February the 1st, 2003, it was time to come home.
So we have 10 minutes to get gloves on. Laurel, do you need help?
As Columbia entered the outer edges of the atmosphere, plasma gas began to envelop the shuttle.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be outside now.
What the crew didn't know was that the superheated gas of re-entry was weakening the left wing, which had been damaged during launch. A few minutes after these images were captured, the wing failed. Columbia disintegrated in the sky over Texas.
He knew that the chance of not coming back was significant. And hence, when he did his last email, he wrote it with the thought that that could be a distinct possibility. Friends, it's hard to believe, but it's coming up on 16 days, and we land tomorrow. I can tell you a few things. Floating is great. At 2 weeks, it really started to become natural. At first, we were still handing each other things, but now we just pass them with a little push. We lose stuff all the time. I'm kind of prone to this on Earth, but it's much worse here. It's hard to remember that you have to look everywhere when you lose something, not just down. The views are really beautiful. If you've ever seen a space IMAX movie, that's really what it looks like. My crewmates are like family. It will be hard to leave them after being so close for 2.5 years. I will make one more observation. If I'd been born in space, I know I would have a desire to visit the beautiful Earth more than I ever yearned to visit space. It is a wonderful planet. Dave. And that was Dave's last email and last words to us all.
Ilan Ramon's last words to his family were discovered nearly 2 months after the accident. A section of the diary he'd kept whilst in orbit was found in a Texas field. It had survived a fall from the edge of space.
I was shaking when I hold those papers and realizing what it is. Because it was, in a way, his message, his way of sharing his feelings with me personally, with the kids.
In his diary, Ilan had described what it was like to wake up in space.
I become a spaceman, working and living in space, like in the movie. I woke up in the morning with a floating, going to the family room, washing my teeth, my face, and off to work. All those wonderful people, crewmates that were lost.
We're so blessed because we have so many incredible memories because they took the time to spend all of that time invested in us and not just in what they were doing. So we can be very proud of what they did with STS-107, but we're all very personally thankful for who they were as men and women.
Though the crew of Columbia did not return home, Dave Brown's camera preserved their extraordinary journey. A journey of 7 individuals who had become friends and together fulfilled their mission as historic explorers.
Excellent.